it was difficult for women to participate in the energy sector. Today, I think we have a silver lining around that dark cloud, and that is because of clean energy or renewable energy, you have changed the dynamics. You don't need those large thermal power stations which are outside the city. There is democratization of energy happening, there's digitization of energy happening, decarbonization, and this has started to engage and involve a lot of women participation.
So very happy to see the fraternity here, and welcome to the Blue Circle, everyone. Thank you all for joining in today. It's such a big privilege and a pleasure to reconnect with everyone, our distinguished panelists who are handpicked because of the think input and the rich experience they bring in. And thank you to our distinguished audience for joining us again. We've received over 100 plus registrations, most of whom are CEOs and CXOs and senior leaders. Many of them are our members, our repeat visitors to our webinars, so which is very encouraging and provides us to provide these high-level dialogues through the online channels as well. For those of you who are new with us today, the Blue Circle is an exclusive community and ecosystem curated for business leaders across 4 sectors, which are e-mobility, energy, healthcare, and real estate. We're also very soon adding 4 new exciting sectors, which are retail, BFSI, logistics, aerospace, and defense. We also present socioeconomic insights from time to time, which ultimately determine the evolving complexion of the market. Now, in response to the COVID challenge, the Blue Circle has also accentuated its digital presence. One of the many modes we employ is our weekly webinar series, our digital publication. And in addition to this, and you'll be happy to know that we're very soon launching an exclusive digital platform curated for leaders, wherein it'll present them with the opportunity of connecting with each other. It'll also house our high quality curated content, meaningful conversations and business opportunities and so on. So those leaders who are interested, you're invited to write to us. We've also begun our selective outreach and have close to 3,000 senior leaders who've signed up for this platform. And today, for our second session as part of Women's Leadership Week, we're privileged to have super achievers who've joined in for our Energy Circles discussion. The topic for the session is women entrepreneurs as key drivers in the renewable energy sector. Now, in the best interest of time, I will just quickly mention their names and designations of the panelists who have joined us today. We have with us Dr. Rashi Gupta, MD and founder, Vision Mechatronics. We have Dr. Shalini Sarin, co-founder and executive director, Elektromobilitat. Ms. Tanya Singhal, founder and director, Solar Arise. Ms. Ina Braverman, co-founder and CEO, EcoWave Power. And our chair and moderator for the session is Mr. Pavan Choudary, best-selling author, public intellectual, CEO of French multinational, and sits on several boards across the country. Thank you very much, ma'ams and sirs, for joining today. And now I request Mr. Choudary to please chair in session, to moderate the session, sir.
Thank you, Siddharth. It's a big pleasure to be holding this session or moderating this session in the Women's Week. And the entire journey of sustainability started with a woman, Rachel Carson, who you mentioned. She wrote the book Silent Spring, The Silent Spring. She was a marine biologist, and she brought the attention of the whole world to the environmentalism. And the rest, they say, is history. However, still in the renewable energy sector, women still constitute a small portion of the leadership and a little larger portion of the total workforce. Are there some unique challenges which we face, which women face as a gender in this sector? This is what we would like to discuss first. But before that, let me hand over the mic one by one, starting with Shalini, to each of these achievers, and ask them where are they coming from? What has been their experience in a nutshell so that you get some context of what position they will be speaking from and the wide experience they bring on the table. Shalini.
Thank you, Pavan, and thank you, Siddharth, for having invited me. Happy to share my views, but just to set the context for everybody. We started celebrating the International Women's Day almost a century ago, 2011, or much, sorry, it was almost a century ago.
1920s, roughly.
Yeah. 19, yeah. And then till today, we are grappling with the number, and we are nowhere close to it. Though we've done a lot of good things, we have improved awareness, we've improved the number of women in the workforce. The unpaid work of women has significantly gone down. So there was a large number of women who were doing a lot of unpaid work. Today also they do a lot of unpaid work, but that has significantly gone down. So there is a lot more for us to do. First of all, I think it is important for us to understand our context. In the energy space, we have seen that in the traditional fossil fuel industry, where the site was very far from the city, the working environment did not support women's safety, transport, etc. It was difficult for women to participate in the energy sector. Today, I think we have a silver lining around that dark cloud, and that is because of clean energy or renewable energy, you have changed the dynamics. You don't need those large thermal power stations which are outside the city. There is democratization of energy happening. There's digitization of energy happening, decarbonization, and this has started to engage and involve a lot of women participation in clean energy. So I think I see this as a great opportunity. Another important thing that I wanted to talk about is that in amidst all of this, we are creating a lot of exclusivity for women. And by celebrating Women's Day, where men do not participate, or we circumvent and bypass the men, that's not how gender balance is going to come about. Actually, it's not even a gender balance issue in my mind. It is a human rights issue. It is an equal opportunities issue. And it is, when at birth there is an equal ratio of men and women, then why don't we see the same ratio reflected at workplace or at leadership levels? So if we are to create any of the solutions, it'll have to be in partnership with men and not by creating exclusive clubs or exclusivity, which looks more like a privilege for women. It has to have equal opportunity and fairness for both. So I think I need to just come back to you again that, and Pavan, we can keep discussing it. My opening comments are that we need to be able to create 4 important things. 1, basic infrastructure, safety, security, crash, whatever are the hygiene factors. Second, we need to be able to provide same level of skills and education, employment and entrepreneurship opportunity for men and women equally. Third, financial independence and financial empowerment. Access to finance is one of the very big challenges, and also women who are earning sometimes shy away from making their financial decisions. So that's the third aspect which becomes extremely important for women to become independent. And fourth and the last one, and I'll park myself after that, is having more and more women in seat of influence. What do I mean by that? By that I mean women in politics, women in boards, women as P&L leaders, not just ticking the box on your ratio by having support function.
Great. I think you have given a very bird's eye view of a long period of time. Let me just, and it's a very good view. Let me just fill in some things there which I might have brought in my preamble, but I think I should bring in now before we go to Ina. To make it even more complete, let me humbly try. So 2,500 years ago, Plato spoke about emancipation of women. But till the 18th century, middle of 18th century, woman was still the property of man. It was only when people like John Stuart Mill, they said that woman should get her place, and that they questioned the society when the society said there are no great historian women. He said yes, and how many women have had the opportunity of studying history at erudite universities? When the society said there are no great linguist women, he said yes, and how many women have had the opportunity of studying Slavic and Sanskrit? And he pushed the whole society towards electoral reforms. When the prevailing mood was that the finger of the woman is not right for the ballot box, it is right for the wedding ring. She is too delicate for the noxious world of politics. And they pushed the agenda, they got women's suffrage, and they got property rights. That was just about, as you said correctly, Shalini, just 100 years ago. And then technology came to their help, which you spoke about, that thermal plants are no longer required. Technology in every field came to their help. Bicycle came to their help. Bicycle allowed not only, it was not only a machine, it allowed them to wear trousers, which gave them greater freedom of movement. And birth pill came to their help. It disentangled them from the handicaps of their physicality. And so I do agree with you that we have been talking about this for a long time, but the oppression has been so long, and that still there is a way to go. And you exactly said that. What are the 4 ways in which we should push this agenda forward? As John Stuart Mill said, we have had the morality of chivalry, we have had the morality of generosity, we want now the morality of justice. And towards that you pointed, and what a fine way to begin, Shalini. Now let me come to Ina. And people would have already guessed Shalini's background by the richness of the dialogue she started with. Now let me come to Ina to tell us where she's coming from, and then I will go to Rashi and then to Tanya. Ina.
Yes, so I'm the founder and the CEO of EcoWave Power. Our company developed a unique, innovative technology for generation of clean electricity from ocean and sea waves. I think that the energy sector is one of the least diverse sectors in the world. According to a study that was recently made by Ernst Young, only 5% of the executives in the energy sector are women, and only 16% of board members. On top of that, we can add the fact that women get only between 1 to 2% of the world VC funding. So 99% of the world funding is actually going to male entrepreneurs. Again, from my personal experience, most of the time in the energy sector, if it's a conference or a meeting, I'm the only woman in the room. When I was younger, every time I came to the room, it was espresso, please, water. Everybody were making their orders because they were sure, they weren't mean or trying to be mean. It's just they were sure that if there's a woman in the room, she's probably there as somebody's assistant. I always say that being an entrepreneur, male or female, it's hard, but being a female entrepreneur, just because it's so rare, especially in the STEM sector or in the energy sector, it adds an additional layer of difficulty that shouldn't actually be there. And I'm really glad to be here today at events like this, which are really celebrating women and discussing the problems and the potential solutions and the path to the solutions, which I think gives a lot of hope and gives a lot of understanding of the situation, both to male and female people around us.
Excellent, Ina. And you're right, only 2% of the venture capital funding goes to women. And you have excelled in that space among women and among men also, because your company is already traded now on the leading stock exchanges of the world, if I'm not mistaken. So that's really wonderful. And if I was to speak in a on a lighter note, whenever people were asking you for coffee, they were asking basically for coffee, which is an energy drink, and you are now serving big loads of renewable energy to so many people in Israel and in other countries. That's really wonderful. And we come to now Rashi. Rashi, where are you coming from? And you are known as the Batterywalli of India. So where does that moniker come from?
Well, thank you for this opportunity, Blue Circle. And thing is that I'm called Batterywalli because I'm the pioneer in this segment of lithium batteries in India. I started way back when there were no lithium batteries. Nobody was even talking about it in India. And the only female entrepreneur in this segment. So India has this habit of associating a wali or a wala with whatever work they do. So since I was into batteries, and it was very easy for people to call me as Batterywalli rather than with my own name. And I take it the other way, that I take it as a symbol of respect, acceptance of the sector, that you can have a female entrepreneur at the level in this very, very niche, male-dominated segment of power, batteries, and STEM. So that's how this name is what I get. I also feel that there is a change of perspective required. What is happening is that we are so conditioned with the way we think and the perspective that we have right from the childhood till we grow up. That needs a change. And once that change comes, that you look at the person as a professional, not as a man or a woman doing any kind of work. And once you start looking at him or her as a professional, I think it will be very easy for all of us to be in a gender neutral kind of an environment. And that will change the whole scenario of the power sector also. And we need to have more opportunities for women. I mean, just like how Shalini ji said, that doesn't change. But what are we doing to include them is something that we need to deliberate as well.
No, very, very right. I find, in fact, the moniker Batterywalli of India extremely, let me say, there is affection there. There is some awe there also. It is something, it is traditionally a province of man, battery. So it is a declaration that you are already there, and you are competing on a unisex ground, and you have claimed that ground. So fantastic. Let us come to Tanya. Tanya, tell us where you are coming from. You are one of the pioneers in the solar industry space, and really a big one. You have had about 1,200 crores of funding, both in equity and debt. Crores means 10 million for those who are joining us from abroad. Go ahead, Tanya.
Thank you, Pavan, and thank you, Blue Circle. So, as Pavan just said, I do exactly what you see behind. You see those panels? We actually build solar plants. So these are large-scale solar plants that connect directly to the grid. So you will be sitting thousands of kilometers away, and you can switch the light on at your home, and it will be coming from a solar power plant. maybe coming from my plant. Actually, that was the vision with which I started Solar Rise, and that's what we do. Coming specifically to the topic in hand, actually, exactly like Rashi said, and a little bit what Tina hinted, we need to change the narrative. Over the last few days, I have heard this term a lot where people have said that about women empowerment. I feel like we were born empowered. We like we said, we've been born with the equal sex ratio. We were born empowered, but somewhere I think, as a statistical majority, the other gender or the male gender got the chance to overshine. So, in my opinion, all we need to build is the conducive space and the faith to bring something on. And I was lucky in that sense that my family always saw me that way. Like, infrastructure or not, doesn't matter what I want to do. They created that space for me, and they believed that I can do that. And that got amplified by the set of colleagues and friends I had. And I would say there has not been a single meeting room that I've felt out of place. I have been to sites. I have been to my own plants, the plants of my fellow people in the industry. People welcome you with open arms, even in the middle of, I'm talking of remote locations like Bede, where the nearest airport will be 7 to 8 hours away. When you bring a positive change at the grassroots level, everybody, even the people who don't have access to internet, they welcome you with a lot of positivity, irrespective of the gender of male or female. So my personal experience, I would say, is that Renewable is changing the way people look at women and infrastructure. It's changing the misnomer that infrastructure is a man's world. And whether it's engineering, whether it's operations, whether it's data science, the world now has women across fields, and the space is wide open. All we need is the faith and the space to be created.
Great. So let me come to Rashi. Rashi, do you agree with what Tanya says? And I would like you to answer as a median woman. You are all Everest climbers. All four of you are Everest climbers. So minor mountains will not intimidate you. But I would like you to answer as a median woman as to what are the challenges which woman faces because of her gender in your sector. Rashi.
First is, I feel women lack equal opportunities in the first place. They lack equal pay also in some categories, and they're mostly seen in very supportive roles. They are not in the mainstream roles. In fact, when I was trying to implement SDG 5, I have equality completely into the employment in my company. So at that time, we also had a lot of trouble finding women there, because they sometimes lack their own confidence also. When we are ready to give opportunity to them, they would lack confidence. They would say, okay, we have not done this before, can we do it? So at that time, finding that spark in that particular girl or a woman there and giving her that opportunity, doing a little bit of hand holding in the initial days for a few months, that transforms them completely. So a little bit of mentoring is required, even if they are on a multiple steps into the employment region. You have to do a little bit of mentoring with them, hand holding with them. They should not lack confidence. And second thing, what importantly is lacking is right at the grassroots, when the girl child is growing. At that time, we do not impart that kind of education, and we do not impart that kind of perspective to her that she is equally competent, she is equally capable to do all the things in STEM that the brother or the other male child is ready, or they are ready to do. So that perspective change has to come from and that is what I look forward, that young parents would do that in the upbringing. Because if you treat that girl child right from the birth to that level, I think most of the problem will be solved. We cannot find right kind of talent today. because we have missed that bus at that time. An entire generation is missing, and we now have to at least make very, very important and efforts to really come up to that level, so that the next generation, we are talking of a next decade, which is going to be a transformational decade for all the sectors, including power, and power sector will be at the peak, and women will be the leaders of the sector. So if we really need a big transformation, we need an overhauling of this entire system. We have to work at the grassroots level, and that is today. And if we don't do it today, we have missed the bus again for a full decade. So these certain issues are there which you need to take care of right from the beginning.
Very right. So you've said that there are certain stereotypes, and they have changed. Earlier, during John Stuart Mill's time, he has mentioned, if I remember correctly, that woman is asked to play submissive roles, is asked to live for the happiness of others, is asked to be attractive and not assertive. That spectrum has changed a lot. Those part of it is still there, but you're saying that stereotypes are there in the STEM space. Yes. That perhaps women, girl child are asked to play with their dolls, while the boy child is given a mechano set to make an engineering model. So, go ahead.
Thankfully, my parents, they never got me a doll. Yes. They never got me a kitchen set. And I was so happy and proud of them that they never gave me that. In fact, there was a computer at my house, and I used to play Pac-Man at that time. When I was a small child, that time Pac-Man was the game, and they used to allow me to do everything. In fact, I learned programming on C, VB and all of that really, really young, even before I cleared my 10th standard. So that was the opportunity my parents gave me. They said, okay, fine, whatever she wants to do on the computer, let her do it. That time it was used to be a desktop kind of thing. And they used to say, whatever you want to do, do it. We are really not concerned. As long as you pass in your exams with good marks, we are fine with it. So that was an incentive for me that, okay, if I pass properly, I get to play more on the computer. And that was exciting. So some small things, that change a lot.
So you are saying that if I have climbed Mount Everest, it is primarily because of the enlightened base camp support which I had from my parents.
Absolutely.
So coming to Shalini, Shalini, and then I'll come to you, Ina. What are the challenges which women face on the site? Because this is a site-based sector. What are the challenges which women may face on the site, especially? Shalini.
So first of all, Pavan, I think compliments to you and to Siddharth to get not only people from the energy space, but a very good diversity of experience. So why I say that is I see these wonderful young women who've already seen the change. So first of all, I must tell you that in the last 3 decades that I have seen at work, things have moved a lot at the site as well. And I've had the privilege to work at oil and gas organization and then clean energy as well. In India, in Europe and in the US. And this issue about a stereotype or a bias is not only relevant for India. I saw the same biases in the Netherlands as well. Of course, what they have better is the infrastructure and the safety and the security. So they don't get raped. They don't have all those issues that we have, societal issues, where due to cross marriages, the woman or the young kids get killed because of intercaste or get raped. So they don't have those issues, but they also have the same issues where you will find women in the support functions. It is obvious that the child is born, then the woman takes care of the child. It is not obvious that the child rearing is supposed to be a joint responsibility. I think one of the countries which has done phenomenally well is Nordics. And that's why I say, do not bypass men while creating policies. From 3 weeks to 6 weeks and now 12 weeks of maternity leave is not going to help you as much as paternity leave of an equal number of days will help you, which is what is happening at the Nordics. So coming back to your pinpointed question on the site, at the site, we did not have toilets, women toilets. So we had to wait, get the toilet clean, and have the facility, guarded when a woman was going. And we were very, very few women. However, that's not true in most cases. You do have toilets for women, and there is a lot of sensitivity around it. However, we still do not have a lot of conditions which are amenable, and that is because our transport facilities, our safety and security facilities are dismal. So we have more to do, Pavan, culturally than we have to do at work and providing the infrastructure or the right environment at work. Because culturally, the needle hasn't moved. The stereotypes of a woman and men are so strong and prominent in our society. I'll give you a very live example recently. Sorry, I didn't introduce myself. I have a startup now in EV space, electric vehicle infrastructure. Before that, 3 decades in multinationals and in these 3 countries in different geographies. We were setting up an ecosystem to help create women entrepreneurs driving e-rickshaws. Due to COVID, the biggest casualty was women. Why? So I think COVID was a boon and a bane. A boon because women got to work from home and manage their homes and their work brilliantly. A bane because of the example that I'm giving you. The children did not go to school because of COVID and the schools were off. So the children were at home. The support staff wasn't coming because, again, lockdowns and whatever else. It was obvious at home that the household responsibilities are to be managed by the woman. Even in the most progressive homes, I have heard a man saying, "You should have asked me to do." Why? Why should a woman ask you? Is she the manager, supervisor of the house? Why isn't it taken as an equal responsibility? Why isn't it obvious for a man that the child's homework has to be done? So just to paint the picture on the environment, that we have much to do socially than we have to do on infrastructure and environment at work.
Yeah, especially in countries like India where centuries exist together. We have the Mercedes-Benz trucks here. We also have Rath Yatras happening in the same trucks. We have computers which are supercomputers, at the same time computers being used for horoscopes, etc. to begin with. So, so there is a wide spectrum of socio-cultural mindsets also. And very good, you have very fine point you mentioned.
And sorry, for that project, I was not able to get a single woman.
Coming to Ina, you also feel that women and children have been most hurt by climate change. You should tell us why. Then please tell us how your site looks. Because everybody of us and also me would not be very aware of the contours of your site. And do you face, do you feel that women may face some peculiar problems at the site? And then I'll come to Tanya on the same question.
So basically, it's known that climate change and the disasters that are caused due to it, floods, fires, or any other disasters, are hurting mostly the women and the children. It's proven that women and children are the biggest sector that is hurt. And what is surprising is, although this is the situation, most of the time women do not have a seat in the negotiation tables to come up with a solution, to say what they think about it. And this is something that really needs to change. From my side, again, I'm seeing an improvement in the world in terms of the treatment to women. There are some countries that are setting policies, for example, for equal board seats for women and for men, and trying to kind of catalyze or accelerate hiring female into managerial or executive and board positions. But unfortunately, it is not enough. And a personal story that happened to me, Pavan, is, for example, in July 2019, our company, as you correctly said, went public on NASDAQ Stockholm. And after going public, we decided to take a PR company in Sweden in order to kind of promote our stock. And Shalini correctly said that the Nordics are known to be very, very pro-women. So this huge PR company made us a great pitch. The huge offices, super impressive. And when the pitch was finished, I was left alone with one of the senior women in the company. And I told her, like, what advice can you give me? You know, like, I'm Israeli, I don't know the Swedish culture, I don't really know what to do to succeed in the Swedish stock market. And she said, you need to quit, you need to step down from the position of the CEO and put, instead of you, a man with white hair, because a young woman does not say to the stock market expert. A young woman cannot be an expert and she will never be accepted by the stock market. So if you want the company to do well, you need to put an older man, again, with white hair. She said that it was very important. And I told her, listen, it's against the DNA of my company. Like, I'm all into girl power. And, you know, I started EcoWave Power when I was 24. And she said, listen, what do you want? You want to be right or do you want to make money? As though being a woman, you can't do both. Either you're right or you're making money. So after this conversation, I decided not to work with that PR company. And what I learned from it, and my message to other women that are watching us, is many people along the way will tell you that you're too weak, that you cannot, that you should step down, but you should definitely not step down, because if you step down, your daughter will step down, her daughter will step down, and you create a very negative chain of events. So I really hope that women will follow their passion and their dreams, no matter what anybody says, because really we know best for ourselves.
And really that advisor, the lady who had advised you to step down, would have really understood that you have the typical authority of a male boss when you sacked her. It must have dawned on her. So, and have you also encountered that men resist female authority particularly?
Yes, especially when I started EcoWave Power. As I said, I was 24 years old. I don't come from a technical background. Most of the engineers that were working for me or are still working for me are of older age, are more experienced in engineering, in technology. So sometimes, you know, they would bring me, let's say, a sketch or a calculation or something. And I would see in the sketch that something is wrong, like something is too weak, something doesn't look reinforced enough. And I would tell them, listen, you have to change it. You have to, let's say, make it stronger so it doesn't break. And they would say, how do you know? You're not even an engineer. And I would say I would start doubting myself and my instincts. I would say, they're right. I'm not an engineer. So probably they're the right ones. And then I would kind of, you know, give up, and they would do what they want. And then exactly what I was afraid of happened. Like if I was afraid something would break, it broke down. So these days, I learned to really trust my instincts, and by trusting it, I saved the company a lot of time and a lot of money. And you don't necessarily have to come, like for some reason, from a woman, the expectation is different. Like if you're looking at Jack Ma of Alibaba, he's a school teacher, and he made this huge, you know, e-commerce platform, and nobody told him, you're not an expert in computers. Why are you giving us? Why are you telling us what to do? But for a woman, like there's a great expectation to kind of be sorry, like even if she knows, like I'm sorry, but I know this because, like, to have an explanation why she knows it, why she feels it. And good entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs that many times are going with their instinct. And that's something that I think that really, really helped me with the business, is when I learned to listen to myself mostly.
Yeah, beautiful. In fact, you're saying that non-traditional roles, when taken up by male entrepreneurs, are applauded. They are considered pioneers. And when women take non-traditional roles which do not fit their educational qualifications, then they are found considered misfits. Similarly, research after research has shown that men are applauded for the same traits of aggression, setting the agenda, etc., for which women are censured in the corporate sector. Great points, Ina. Coming to Tanya. Tanya, you are a site person. I mean, yours is a site specific company. So, what are the challenges you have encountered on site or in your general career, which a median woman would encounter in your space?
Sure, Pavan. So first of all, I would build on what Shalini said, that it is a culture change that you need first before you talk about the issues that a man or woman would face. So for example, at our sites, you would find women be employed in a lot of proportion, whether it's the construction, whether it's the operation. And one of our operational person is a female, and I myself also go to the sites a lot, but it is a lot in terms of the space that we create and the power that we throw to say, this, we completely believe in you to do that role. Sometimes what happens is we become our own judges to say, is infrastructure for women? My question is, why not? Why can you not be at a site? What is stopping you? Is it that you have an incapability to walk long distances? No, you have marathon runners who will be women. Is it that you are asked to lift very heavy stuff which is physically incapable, or you cannot tolerate the heat in the same way as men can be? So for me, it's a lot about a cultural change that we're looking at. And once you create that space around and create the belief system, nothing is, no space, no infrastructure is not possible for women. Even in our company as a moderate woman, I would not say we face this issue, but it's a choice. We've made that choice and we have seen that. Even as a sector, you will see more women approaching it, but obviously it's not at a 50% level. So there's something that is stopping them back. My question actually would be to the audience to ask them, why would you not consider infrastructure as a woman? Like, why would you say that today consumer goods or fashion is any more suitable for a woman than it is, than power or infrastructure is? What changes?
The ecosystem of your work, you are absolutely referring correctly. That is very important. And you are saying that you, in your company, you have changed the ecosystem of work. That means the civic education which is required.
It's a culture change.
Yeah, it's a culture change of people who are working in and around your woman counterparts. They know how to provide that protection, how to provide that privacy, which a woman may require. And let me tell you, many other companies have done this. In fact, I also lead a company, one of the companies I lead, we have a groom and groom session, which is based on a book which Kiran Bedi and I have done on what are the hygiene and manners which are required in various areas, and manners also around women. For example, even while traveling, we train our people that if you are going by air and a lady is sitting next to you in her chair, make sure that you do not you use the armrest discreetly, and it should not become a bother for her. So these are also how you should carry your drink and how you should carry your drink around women colleagues, etc. So I feel that what you're saying is that whether travel, sanitation, safety, etc. is concerned, these all can be changed for the woman through the ecosystem which you help develop as a leader in your organization. Great point. So I think we have very well covered this round, and let us go to the next round, and let me start with Rashi on that. Rashi, what are the unique traits in women you feel which make her advantageously positioned for your sector or for leadership positions in your sector? Rashi.
Women have a better emotional quotient and they can relate better to the situation and people. And probably that's one of the reasons, why in HR role you have more women than men. So I think leadership given to women in in any sector, it can transform very fast. I also firmly believe that a woman, if she can take care of the house and manage it properly with a very limited budget, sometimes it can be even a string tight budget, then she can always manage a company or a business very well. And specifically Indian women, because our upbringing is like that. Keep saving. And I'll always say that
I think we've lost you. We lost you for a moment, Rashi. Go ahead, please.
am I audible now? Clear?
Yes, yes.
What
absolutely.
I was saying is that women are powerhouses by default. We are energy storage devices by ourselves. And Indian women specifically, because we are taught to save right from the beginning. And we save everything. So what is important for us is that if we apply the same technique of what we do at home to what we do at work, I think we can excel by default. Those simple management training is been already imbibed into us right from the core. So now it's just that we need to give it a professional aura and attire very professionally. And once you learn that over a period of time, you can excel very fast into the sector. So I think women have a better emotional quotient. That is the first thing. They are more, they have more persistence and perseverance. That impacts really a lot. And we do a very good follow-up. I mean, excellent on follow-ups. If you want something, we want it, we will achieve it no matter what. Now the point is, what do we want? If that clarity you have in your mind, you have got that clarity, you've achieved it. That's all.
Great point. So you have said you are more emotionally intelligent, so you can handle teams better. And project management comes naturally to you. And you bring prudence in project management, and you also bring a lot of persistence and never say die attitude. Great point. So those are really required in your sector. Coming to Ina, what are the other traits you feel which women may have in greater proportions, which make them uniquely suited to your sector?
In the end of the day, I think women are not very different in terms of the traits that we have and that men have. I think, again, the positions that are given to both women and men should be given according to their talent, according to their experience, according to their passion. We shouldn't be saying like that. The question that you're asking is exactly something that creates kind of the dividends and the differentiation. What do you have that men don't have? That's exactly what men are doing to us. They're saying that they have all these qualities and a woman probably doesn't have. For example, men say that they're much more rational and a woman is much more emotional. It's not really true. It's mostly like the main problem is the perception of what a woman has and what a man has. But actually, they have exactly the same thing. And something that really emphasizes well what I'm saying is a famous study that was done by Hewlett Packard. It's called Howard versus Heidi. I don't know if you heard about it.
Yeah, so please tell. It's a very good one. Go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, a professor in Harvard University, if I'm not wrong, divided a class of male and female students into two. And to the first half of the group, they presented Howard. Howard was a very successful Wall Street guy. He was making a lot of money, making a lot of capital. He was nice, he was charismatic, he was experienced. When the professor asked the students, what do they think about Howard? They said that he sounds extremely qualified, extremely smart, and that they would love to work for him. Then the professor went to the other side of the class that was in another room and presented them Heidi. Heidi had exactly the same qualities that Howard has. He was charismatic and smart and well experienced and made a lot of money. So everybody in the second half agreed that Heidi is talented and she should have her job, but nobody wanted to work for Heidi. everybody thought she's a little bit like, she's a bit evil, she's probably not fun to work under, versus Howard, everybody wanted to go for a beer with him and to work for him and everything. And look, the two people had exactly the same qualities, exactly the same achievements, but the perception of the same class divided to two was completely different. So we need to stop doing this perception. Why can a woman do something better? Why can a man do something better? Is why can an individual do something better? What is your individual traits that are making you a good manager, a good entrepreneur, or even a good employee? And that's something which would really give kind of this, a big part of the solution of the problem that we're having, which is mostly, again, perception.
So great point. So let me open this debate. Let me ask Shalini. So Shalini, do you agree with what Ina has said, that it is only stereotypical angles of view which are responsible for how the world sees women as different from men? And there is nothing about the physicality, the biology, how the minds are wired. Do you agree with her view, or you have another view or a little different view?
Thank you, Pavan. I've had some of the best, most compassionate, sensitive team members who were men. While I know that there is this stereotype that women are more emotional, compassionate, more collaborative, in my personal experience, I've had both. And I've had some women who are highly competitive and have been great negotiators. So I think in my experience, it is about exposure, it is about opportunity, it is about the support and reinforcement that you have received that make you what you are. Having said that, I don't completely disagree that there are a few things which come naturally to men and there are a few things come naturally to women. Given the reinforcements and the environment that they've had, and I'll give you an example. I worked with Schneider Electric for a couple of years, and Schneider Electric is a French company which has several factories in France, and it's a switchgear. It was, I mean, now it's a digitization and energy company, but it makes switchgears. Now, for a long time, these switchgears did very, very well in Europe. Sturdy, strong, efficient, very good performance. However, now they have diverse teams. So they have men and women both in the R&D. And now we've added a few changes and color to the aesthetics of it. The same switchgear with no difference in efficiency, performance, and all those parameters being the same is doing phenomenally well all over the world. Now, there is, why didn't the men think of it or not? Now, I'm not saying that men are not aesthetically inclined. You may have some of the best, architects and interior designers and fashion designers as men. However, having said that, some skills are acquired, some come naturally to men or to women. But I do not deny, as a social scientist, that environment, opportunity, exposure, reinforcements play a very significant role as well.
I think very, very beautifully said. Both of you have actually said it very beautifully. And I was reminded of an anthropological study which I was going through, which says very clearly that when in matriarchal societies, women were in power, they also started using physical force just as men were using earlier. So that means I would lean towards the fact that when people say that men are from Mars and women are from Venus, there is not so much difference. The difference is more like between Mars and Snickers, which are two bars, two chocolate bars, but they are not so different. So at the same time, the point which you said beautifully was that there are certain things which are acquired, which come naturally. and there are some others which come naturally. So I feel those things which come naturally to women are that emotionally intelligent side of the piece. And if I was to narrate this with the help of a biblical mythological tale, some scientists have said this, social scientists have said this, just to make it a parable, that if God made the world in 6 days, earlier he was making rougher things like insects, stones, etc., and then animals and birds, and finally he made man. But with man also he was not happy, so he created a bone, took out a bone from his rib and created a woman. So somewhere a woman is a more refined version of man. It brings a feminine polarity. This feminine polarity, when a man recognizes in himself that compassion, etc., which you spoke of in some of your colleagues, male colleagues, he becomes a complete human being. And a woman also becomes a complete human being when she acquires those assertive qualities which are required to drive the agenda forward. At the same time, I do feel that there are certain things, as you said, which come naturally and some are acquired. And I also feel that that is why women have very well campaigned for their equality by saying differences are okay. Everybody says that women are different, men are different. They say, okay, we are different, but we are also equal. By stressing for equality, they are trying to forge eventually through their advocacy a stronger bond as one cohesive team with men. So great points which came up, and there is to end the discussion, there is a question which I will pose to Tanya because it is coming from for you, Tanya. Sandhya asks, what does the future hold for women in the solar Indian subcontinent space? This is her question. So I think on a very positive note, we can end with your answer, because I can guess partly what it is going to be, but go ahead, please, Tanya.
So, Pavan, like you said, the space is wide open, Sandhya. You know, you can, whether you want to think about technical aspects, engineering, design, whether you want to think about finance, whether you want to think about operations, whether you want to think about fundraising and be in that 2% that Ina mentioned, the space is wide open. The 2 rupees actually is an enabler. It is right now, while I taking the pinch of salt, you are saying that solar is no longer a good to have. It's a must to have, and the economic proposition, the value stands in the pricing which you offer. It's not because it's a renewable source of energy, we should use it, but it is not just clean, but the cheapest form of energy. And the sector is open and welcome for women to partner in. I believe that you have to lead by example. All this time I started by saying, as women, I believe we have been born empowered. We just need the right space, and we want people to remove these stereotypical angles and give us that, that openness and our freedom to say, let us do what we want to do, and this is our space. And whether it's the site, whether it's the corporate office, now more than ever, after COVID, it has been established that you just need to have the time to do what you want to do. And with those constraints, the quality of the output you deliver is what matters. And solar, in my opinion, and renewable will change that space.
Fantastic. So Sandhya has also said, awesome set of women, kudos to the organizers. And on that note, I pass it back to the organizers after thanking all my fellow panelists. Siddharth.
I think Dr. Gupta wanted to add something also. I think she was.
Sorry, I did not see that. Rashi,
never mind.
I thought you were waving.
No, I raised my hand to ask. Actually, now it is like I choose to challenge. So I was like, I don't want to challenge anything, but I want to make a point on what Sandhya Prakash has written. See, we were talking about all of this while about a perspective, right? What I see from the question here is, what does the future hold for women in solar in Indian subcontinent, especially with the reduced rate of kWh, kilowatt hour? Now, what does the reduced rate of kilowatt hour has to do with women, hiring of women? I mean, it's my direct perspective. Whether or not the rate reduces or whatever happens, you are any which way is going to hire. The talent is important, whether it is a man or a woman doesn't matter. So the perspective, what I'm trying to say is, has to change is right here, and it has to begin right from us. And that's when the change will come in the power sector. So Sandhya ma'am, if you are still around, I hope you guys have understood that women have nothing to do with the price reducing rate of the falling rates of solar. It's all about a perspective. We all can do it. We are empowered to do it. And if we don't do it, nobody else can do it. That's all. Over to you.
Beautiful point, Rashi. In fact, why I missed that suffix reduce rate of the kilowatt hour was because I was trying to be the bridge between these scalers of Everest and the median woman. And I'm glad that you all and Sandhya Prakash brought both those perspectives. Great, fantastic. Siddharth.
Thank you very much, ma'ams and sirs. Such a wonderful, inspiring discussion. Our leaders and I have taken home excellent nuggets from today's conversation, and very well moderated, sir. Thank you very much. I'm still receiving positive messages from leaders on LinkedIn and over email. And thank you to our members and guests for joining us today, for staying till the end. Along with our weekly webinar series, we will soon be taking these discussions on our exclusive digital networking platform, which is specifically for curated for leaders in these 4 sectors and the additional 4 sectors which we plan to add very soon. So whether you would like to engage with us on our panel or as learners, our leaders are invited to connect with us for membership, to join the Energy Circle, and also get access to the other circles as well. So thank you once again and have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Siddharth.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pavan.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.